You're listening to an episode of the Abigail Pugh podcast with, you guessed it, Abigail Pugh. I'm an introverted mama who took my online business from 0 to 7 figures in 15 months selling my own digital products on social media. And guess what? I did it all with my 3-year-old daughter no less than 3 feet away from me at all times. Now I'm bringing you everything I've learned about building a wildly profitable online business that supports your life while allowing you to truly live it. Get ready for raw, honest conversations with entrepreneurs making thousands per month selling their own digital products and people just like you who ditch self-doubt to create the life they've always wanted. If you're ready to make more money, have more impact, and still have time for the things that matter most, you're in the right place. Grab your sneakers, head out on your hot girl walk, and let's dive in. Welcome back to another episode of me yapping to myself in my podcast studio, which also doubles as my closet. Someday I would love a nice in-home podcast studio, but for now I'm making it work with what we have. So next week's episode is going to be all about my 2025 predictions for Instagram and digital products. And I almost released the episode this week because I had so much fun with it. And I think you especially are going to love it. But I thought for this week, sharing what worked in 2024 before I go into my predictions for 2025 might make more sense. So first I'll say that this was my 3rd calendar year in business. I started this business in the summer of 2022. So technically it's been 2.5 years, and honestly, it was the hardest year yet, which eventually I'll probably share more details on that. But basically, in the middle of the year, my business was kind of turned upside down. And while I'm so grateful for it now, it really sent me into a funk. And if you know anything about being in a funk, you know that it absolutely sucks and often derails you, which is exactly what happened to me in the middle of the year. But all that to say, so many things in 2024 worked really well for me and my business. So let's dive into what worked. Now, these are in no particular order, but the first thing I will say that worked really well was a joint training. So in January of this year, I wanted to teach on emails, and I had a lot of requests for people asking me about emails. So I created a product called Rich Girl Emails, but I co-taught it with the person that I learned emails from. Because while no, I don't think you need to be an expert in something to teach it. You just need to be a few steps ahead of someone. I really wanted to bring in the person that I had learned so much of this from. And I'm not going to lie, email is something that I still struggle with. Like, I know what I need to do, but I don't necessarily have the systems in place to be consistent with doing it yet. I'm a lot better with it now, but in January, I just felt like I needed to launch this with someone else. So we did a joint training and it was 50-50. So we both sold the offer and we both made 50% from it. And something that was really cool about this was both of us getting in front of the other person's audience, right? And it was also cool to see that we were selling this main product for a good portion of the month, right? But my other sales also increased. And it's just such a good reminder that the more you are selling and hyping something up and talking about it and standing behind it and being excited about what it is that you teach people, the more your other offers will sell as well, which I thought was really cool. And January ended up being my highest revenue month of the entire year. It was $107,000 for January, which was really, really cool to see. So I didn't do any other joint trainings for the rest of the year just because it was a lot of work to kind of line everything up. And not to say I won't ever do it again, but I did have a lot of fun kind of selling with another person. And it was just really cool to see the end result of that. So if you have ever thought about doing something with someone else, it was a lot of fun. I'm not going to lie. The one thing I will say is to make sure that you totally trust this person and that you know them, because you kind of are attaching your name to the person. So if you are going to do joint trainings, just do your due diligence on the person, make sure you know them and you trust them. The next thing that worked really well in 2024, and it's not something that I planned to do for the entire year, but I did it early on and it was really, really cool. And so I just continue to do it. So you will see a lot of people running sales for their digital products, on Labor Day or 4th of July or Memorial Day. And I don't know, I just never wanted to add to that noise. So what I did on our first trip of the year, actually, it was when we went to Disneyland in February, I ran a sale that only took place during my vacation. And at first it was just a fun, like, hey, this would be really fun to run a sale while we're at Disneyland. And what I realized is that it was a really fun way to know exactly what I needed to post for content during the vacation if I wanted to. Granted, you don't have to post when you're on vacations. I chose to. It was kind of not a super last minute trip, but a little bit. So I still wanted to post, but having the sale to talk about and send people to in all of my content. And it was a lot easier for my brain to know, okay, if I'm going to share today, the first thing I need to share is that I'm having this sale and it ends in, 4 days, right? So with sales, a great way to kind of increase your sales overall is by having a sale that is like a short window of time, because you have to make a decision. If you're someone that's considering buying during the sale, you're kind of forced to decide, am I going to buy it now when it's on sale, or I'm going to wait and buy it later? So I started doing that for all of our vacations. Anytime we went on a vacation, that's when I would have either a bundle or a sale. And I don't think I did it on every single one, but a lot of them. And it was just, again, a really fun thing to have take place and that I could plan for and prep everything before I went on the trip so that I didn't have to be on my phone as much during the trip. I knew exactly what my content was going to be about. I could still share, my travels, and it's fun to like share the journey when you're traveling. And then my last slide would be like, hey, don't forget XYZ is on sale until I get home. Don't forget to grab it at the sale price before it's gone. And something, again, that I will say with that is for sales, I find that either bundling products or making one product on sale worked really well. You could do your entire shop if you wanted, but it just feels like if you have multiple products, it's a lot of decisions to make. So making the sale be on either a bundle or one thing worked really well, and having those sales be during vacations. I loved it. It's probably something I'm going to continue doing in 2025. It's a lot of fun. Next, and this is something that I actually tracked for the entire year. It's called a big ass calendar. That's literally the name of the calendar. You might have seen it in some of my reels, kind of like in the background, but it's a really big calendar that goes on my office wall, and it shows you the entire year in one calendar. And it's really cute too. I got the pink one. But for 2024, I tracked all of my hot girl walks, which is what I call them. I love it. And during those hot girl walks, which I need to count them up and see how many I did, I tracked them with a little star. So every day that I went on a hot girl walk, I have a star sticker on my calendar. So at the end of the year, I can count them up and see how many I did. But something I started doing was using that time to answer my DMs. And I found it really helpful because I really wanted to get walking in. Like, it's so great for your health. I love it. It's great for my mental health. But I found that like having the deadline of the time of like, okay, during my walk today, I need to answer these DMs and get back to everyone, which is why some of you have received voice messages from me where I'm out of breath. I'm walking up the hill probably. But it was just really great to kind of combine those two things and have like a deadline, because it is really easy to just like endlessly scroll and get sucked into things on Instagram and DMs and stories. And I wanted to like be very clear that like that was my time for DMs. Now, obviously, if like my husband and my daughter come on the walk, I wouldn't do it then. But on all of my solo ones, I use that time to do something that otherwise I probably would have sat on the couch and taken 2 times as long to do it. So loved doing those and just loved the walks. Honestly, they're so good for my mental health, and having a goal that I can stick to every single day really just like builds that confidence in my brain as well, that I can stick to things. I am very obsessive with things, but then like when I'm done with it, I'm done with it. And I didn't want that to be the case for my walks. So working it into a business task as well helped a lot for me. Next thing that worked really well this year was focusing more on marketing typical results instead of the outlier students. Not only is this more FTC compliant, I think it works better in attracting people that aren't expecting the world. I feel like sometimes before when I would share, results of some of my students, they were not typical, right? And I've completely stopped sharing any results unless they are typical, because I was noticing that a lot of people would come to me and they would like make their first sale, and their DM would be like, "Oh, I made my first sale. I know it's not much." And I was like, why are people feeling this need to feel like that's not much? Like, your first sale is the most magical and wonderful thing. And I never want anyone to like compare their results to anybody else's. And something, again, that I started doing was marketing those typical results so that people could see that like, okay, this is more typical that's going to happen. So when they did make their first sale, they would come to me like excited out of their mind, which is what I want, right? And a lot of the time before, people weren't coming to me with those DMs, right? They were like bummed that they weren't seeing the results that other people were seeing. So when I shifted my marketing to be only typical results, if I do share any results at all, it changed the people that I was attracting. And it's so cool to see that now people are coming to me, they are finding me, and they are realizing that this is not an overnight thing. This is, digital products, Instagram, nothing is overnight, right? And I think sometimes when we see those bigger results, we're like, okay, like I expect to hit that, in XYZ amount of time. And everyone has different timelines. Like you cannot compare your timeline to anybody else's. And when you market typical results, you will just attract people that expect the typical results, not the outlier results, and then they leave disappointed. So that was a huge shift for me, and I actually love it now. It was kind of a big shift in my marketing, but I just love where I'm at now. And I love that people, when they find me and they start to work with me, they know that it's going to take time and effort and that everyone is going to have different results. Next thing that worked really well for me for 2024 was MRR. And no, I am not talking about master resale rights. I am talking about monthly reoccurring revenue. And this is something that I actually worked into my business from day one. So from day one, when I signed up for Stan, I also became a Stan Store affiliate. And if you guys don't know anything about Stan, it's where I sell my digital products. It is kind of like the link in bio that hosts it all. My live trainings go through that, my email list, like Stan is amazing. If you don't have a Stan store, you should probably get one. I'm obsessed with them. But their affiliate program works in a way that when someone signs up for Stan through my link, I get money from that person staying with Stan every single month. So how it works is when somebody signs up for a Stan store through my affiliate link, I get a reoccurring payment from them, from Stan, I should say, every single month for that person who signed up through my affiliate link, and it's reoccurring. So if someone signed up for Stan through my link in 2022 and they've stayed with Stan the entire time, I get, I think it's like $6 every single month for that person staying with Stan because I'm the one who introduced them to Stan. So from the beginning, I will say I worked that into my marketing and I knew I wanted to like build up reoccurring revenue. But in 2024, I wanted my own offer that had monthly reoccurring revenue, not only for kind of, the stability of reoccurring revenue and not having to find new customers all the time, but also because I really wanted to be more involved with my students. Before, all my products were like a one-time offer. And while I have so many repeat students, I just felt like I never got to kind of go deeper with them. So this year I launched a community, which if you're in it, it's the best place to be. I love it so much. It is an amazing community for anyone who's trying to grow and sell more digital products on Instagram. It's the best thing ever. We have weekly Q&As together. We have guest trainers every single month, like the best of the best guest trainers. You guys, I have made some incredible connections and now I'm able to bring them all to you. I also do weekly social media prompts to sell and grow and nurture your audience. And it's just the best place, I think. But it really allowed me to build pretty substantial reoccurring revenue into my business. And it's made it so that I kind of know what I'm going to make every single month. Obviously, like there's always months where it might be higher, it might be a little bit lower, but I'm able to kind of predict much more so with that. And I'm not pregnant, but we want more kids, right? And so kind of preparing my business for having another kid and, preparing for having 2 kids, not 1. And like I said, I'm not pregnant yet. But we would like more kids in, maybe next year and then 2026, who knows? But I really needed to prepare my business for that. So for 2024, I really focused on building a product that would have that reoccurring revenue for me. And I will say, if you sell digital products now and they're all one-offs, I would really urge you to start thinking about what's something that you can take and turn it in either to a subscription or a community or something where they, don't have access to it unless they pay the monthly fee. So you are able to pour into them more, but you're also able to create reoccurring revenue in your business because it truly is life-changing. And something that I didn't really expect when I kind of shifted to this business model a little bit more so was the freedom in my content. Like I'm able to just have fun in my content so much more because not every post needs to sell. Not every story needs to sell. I can really connect with people a little bit more and go a little bit deeper and have more fun. And that was something that I wasn't really expecting. So I just love the fact that I can kind of test things out with my content more so too, because one of the things I offer in the membership is, prompts and staying up to date with certain things that's going on Instagram. And now I'm able to test so many more things, and it's just a lot more fun. And honestly, I think business should be fun. I think a lot of the time we take the fun out of it. And if you're going to do this long term, you need to enjoy it. You need to love it. So monthly reoccurring revenue has changed my entire life. Next up, and this is one that I was kind of expecting to hate because I was never a Twitter girly. I could just never get into Twitter. But when Threads came out, I definitely was hesitant at first. And I didn't want another platform. I was like, oh my God, this is so annoying. And it's connected to Instagram. So I know that they're probably going to do something where if you're active on one, maybe you'll get more views or something on the other. And they did end up doing it to where when you signed up for Threads, everyone who followed you on Instagram automatically followed you on Threads. So if you had any followers on Instagram, you didn't have to start from zero on Threads. And I don't know if they do that anymore, but I signed up when they were still doing that. And so it was nice to have a smaller audience on there. And at first, I was kind of just watching what other people were doing on Threads. And very quickly, I realized that people did not want this to be another in your face sales all the time. And not to say you can't storytell and sell, but people didn't want the in your face selling. So I started using Threads to I did some inspiring, but it was more just sharing funny little things or sharing little moments of my life. And I eventually started testing my content ideas on Threads. And when they performed well, I would then bring them to Instagram, and it worked really well. And it was very fascinating to see that, I could test something in written content, because Threads is just like Twitter, where it's just text. Some people will post video or images on there, but it's mainly a text platform. So you're able to kind of test content and see if people resonate with it very easily. And if it doesn't perform well, it was 5 minutes of your time. It's not a big deal. So what I've been using Threads as for this year is testing my content. If a piece of content or a concept does well on Threads, I will kind of adapt it and make it a carousel, and then I'll make it a reel. And I actually have one thread that did pretty well. And when I say performed well, I would say none of my threads are going mega viral, right? I've had maybe a few that have gone viral, but it's more so just seeing that conversations are happening. People are interested in this. People are liking it. But when I say performed well, I think the one that I repurposed, I think it got 200 or 300 likes on Thread. But that just showed me that people are interested in it. They like it. The comments is where I really look to see okay, did this resonate with people or not? And then when something resonates with them on Threads, I will take that and I will put it on Instagram. It was just a really fun and easy way to kind of test my content and try new things and kind of let loose. If you go to my Threads, it is not all of it is business, not all of it is personal, but I will just try and share funny or relatable things. And I'm not really even trying to be relatable. I'm just trying to share things in my everyday life. And then when people resonate with them, I will kind of take that concept and move it over to Instagram without all this pressure to, test a new concept on my Instagram feed. Now, something else that I didn't necessarily plan for this year, but very early on the year, we decided that we weren't going to share my daughter's face anymore. And I actually saw this reel, and it just hit me so hard. And I saw somebody do it a similar concept just recently as well. But basically she starts off the reel and she's here are some things that, and she's an adult, right? It's an adult woman. She's sitting in her car and she goes, here are some things that I would be really upset about if a family member shared about them on Instagram. And she listed out me sitting in the bath, or me crying over something, or me, bummed that something didn't go the way I want, or me when I got hurt. And then she kind of flips it at the end and said, if you're sharing any of these things with your kids, someday they're going to see your social media and they're going to see what you shared. And that hit me so hard. And not that I ever really shared much detailed stuff about my daughter. I do share the highlight reel from my daughter because, all the stuff that's going on behind the scenes, that's hers to share if she wants someday. I feel like I have been good about her privacy, but that hit me even harder. And then the one that just kind of took it home for me was an influencer that I follow. She had taken her daughter somewhere and someone recognized her and called her by name, and her daughter freaked out. And her daughter was like, why do they know who I am? And that was it for me. I was like, okay, I'm not going to share Bean's face anymore. And that kind of led to me sharing way less of my family. I will still share like small moments and things that I can. And if I have a picture where Bean's face happens to not be in it, I will share it. But I really started just putting my phone away and not sharing as much about my family on my social media. And it works, but I'm not going to lie, it's hard because they are such a huge part of my life and why I built my business the way that I did. But also having the separation has been really helpful. And I'm just very mindful if I do want to share something, I'll just make sure that it's like the back of her head, or I can blur the video out. There's an app called Tezza. It's Tezza. And I think it's paid. I'm pretty sure it's paid. I think I paid for like the whole year. But they have a filter where you can like blur the video. So if there's something that I really wanted to share, but I didn't want to show her face, I could blur it. But I will say it's just made me so much more intentional about the time with my family and not being on my phone, because I feel like as business owners that are now content creators, we want to share our life and we want to share things, and it's so much fun. But at the end of the day, kind of having that separation has really just helped me feel so much better. But it's been hard because, like I said, I love my family and I love sharing the things that we get to do. But it's, for me personally, it just really felt like having that separation was so much better for me and my brand. Okay, so I just listed all these good things that happened in 2024. So why the heck was this my hardest year yet? Well, first of all, 2023 was my year of yes. And I said yes to every opportunity, right? I hit record numbers in 2023. I did multiple in-person events. Like I was paid to go places and speak, like wildest dreams, right? I launched basically my entire product suite. Literally, it was insane, but it was also a lot for me mentally, especially as an introvert, that I wasn't really prepared for. And at the end of the year, at the end of 2023, I felt exhausted. So for 2024, my word of the year was no. And the way I applied that was no matter how good an opportunity, whatever it may be, right? No matter what that opportunity was, if I didn't feel like I had the capacity for it, I had to say no, regardless of the monetary outcome of that, to prioritize my mental health, which meant that I hit my good income goal for 2024, which, a little context on that, I always set a good, better, and best income goal for my business at the beginning of the year. And last year, so in 2023, I hit my best goal, which it was insane. Like I still can't believe I hit that goal. And this year, I only hit my good goal. I'm actually about to hit it. I'll probably hit it in the next day or so, which means I had to really, really learn and convince my brain that the sales I make or the sales I don't make have nothing to do with my self-worth. And I'm still learning that, honestly, but it was a hard year of truly deeply learning that. And it's something that I think all of us need to learn and continuously remind ourselves of as entrepreneurs. I mean, write it down on a sticky note in your office if you have to. The amount of money I make has nothing to do with my self-worth. I'll say it again. The amount of money I make has nothing to do with my self-worth. I mean, put it in multiple places if you have to, because it's so easy to connect our business results or failures with our self-worth. And it's just not true. Those two things are very different, and connecting them is, for lack of better words, it's just not healthy and it's not sustainable, because you're always going to have ebbs and flows in business. And if your self-worth is connected to that, then you're just always going to be feeling like the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. And my goal is to feel sustainable, right? My goal is to have a business that I love, but also prioritize my mental health. Now, one last thing I will leave you with that I learned this year that kind of went against everything I thought before was that everything can be content, but not everything has to be content. I got really good at boundaries this year and batching my B-roll so that moments with my family or times where I was just relaxing or cooking a fun recipe, like when I made homemade lasagna for the first time this week, didn't need to always be turned into content. And don't get me wrong, there are absolutely still times where I will film something really quick to use in a reel later if it's, like the perfect little scene and I know it'll be perfect for a reel. but I don't have to. And I loved kind of giving myself permission to just enjoy things and not worry about documenting them all the time. And don't get me wrong, I love documenting things, right? Like I am the girl who had the perfect Instagram feed that changed with the seasons when I was a floral designer. Like I love it. Documenting and creating, like it is part of who I am. But one of the reasons I love being my own boss and my own business owner is that I get to build my business around my life and not the other way around. And 2024 really opened my eyes to prioritizing life more so than my business. Okay, y'all, I will see you back here next week to chat all about my 2025 predictions, and I will see you then. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you learned anything from this episode, I would love it if you could share it over on your Instagram stories and tag me at Abigail Pugh. Until next time, love you, mean it.